Imagine being a Harvard-trained, award-winning attorney, yet you still have to prove that you are in fact the attorney and not the defendant when you go into the courtroom. Take a look at this.
I went to Harvard Law School. I've got a lot of degrees and awards. I've won cases at the US Supreme Court, and I've been in courtrooms representing clients, getting there early, sitting at defense counsel's table, where the judge will walk in and immediately get mad at me. The judge will look at me and say, hey, you get back out there in the hallway. I don't want any defendants sitting in my courtroom without their lawyer. And I have to stand up and say, well, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I am the lawyer. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Brian Stevenson. I have to try to de-escalate this situation. And I was doing that recently. I was in a courtroom in the Midwest, and the judge started laughing, but it wasn't an apologetic laugh. And it kind of angered me. And the prosecutor started laughing. They thought it was so funny. And I was sitting there getting angry. And then I thought, oh no, Brian, you can't get angry. You need to smile. You may need to laugh. And I felt that way. I thought that way because my client was not going to be able to leave that county. I was able to leave that county and never come back based on the way I was treated if I chose to do that. But my client was going to have to stay there. So when they were laughing, I smiled. And then I eventually chuckled. Client came in, we did the hearing. But I remember sitting in my car after that hearing thinking, wow, here I am, this middle-aged black man. I'm in my best suit. I actually argued the case at the Supreme Court that we were trying to implement. I've got all of these degrees and awards, and I'm still required to laugh at my own humiliation to do justice for my client. That's not right. That's not fair. And I'm getting old enough to know that when you have to constantly navigate presumptions of dangerousness and guilt because of your color, when you have to tell your children how to survive a police encounter, what to do and what not to do, how they can't do the things that their white friends can do because they're going to be burdened with this presumption, when you have to constantly navigate this world, it's exhausting.
There you have it. This is an acclaimed black attorney who, as I said earlier, is an award-winning attorney, yet when he went into the courtroom a little bit early, the judge automatically assumed that he was the defendant and told him to get back in the hallway. And the way that he had to handle it, he had to, temper himself. Even though inside he was furious, he had to temper himself and then, just say, look, I am actually the attorney. And then there was the laugh, right? And it wasn't one of those awkward, I'm so embarrassed laughs, just like this brother said. It was more of, ha ha ha, you can't possibly be the attorney, right? That's what that was. That was what that was. That was shame. That was racial profiling. That was anti-black racism. That was ignorance. That was all of the things, right? When it comes to us as people that we go through. He has to make sure that, he's representing somebody with class and poise, and it doesn't matter, that you racially profiled me. I need to just be quiet, basically, and do what I'm tasked to do, which is defend my client. But I can just imagine the feeling, right? And me personally, maybe that's why I'm not a lawyer, because I wouldn't be able to just allow this judge to laugh at me and racially profile me and talk down to me that way. I would be like I'd be in that judge's face. Truly, I would be. And again, I would want to know the name of this judge. I would name this judge, and I would make sure everybody knows this judge is an anti-black racist. And I would make sure that everybody knew. Okay? We need to have our own major institutions. We need to have our own law firms that are run by black attorneys only and for black clients only. And it starts with us owning our own, right? There's no way I would have been able to handle that. No, I would be far too triggered by that. And I would have to go off on that judge, especially once the laughter started. Oh, no, I would have been done. But family, let me know what you think about this. How would you handle it if you were a black attorney and you were accused of being the defendant and were told to go wait in the hallway and talk to that way by the judge? Drop your comments in the chat. Don't forget to like, subscribe.